Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. This is episode 2 of the Easy to Embellished card series, where we make 3 cards starting with a very easy, simple card and that anybody can do. It's quick if you're short on time or if you don't have a lot of materials. And then each card we get a little fancier, and the final card we pull out all the stops to give it that wow factor. So for today's episode, we're going to be using this Perk Up stamp set, and this is a coffee inspired set. As you can see, there's the cute little travel mug on there with the little steamy swirls and all sorts of fun sentiments. Happy pumpkin spice season, happy sweater weather. There's thanks a latte, which is super cute. I know I'll use that one a lot. Perk up. Just to brighten somebody's day, you can send them a little card that says Perk Up. And then I'm Cocoa for you. Super cute. So you can buy this stamp set with the coordinating thin cuts or without. The thin cuts are just the cup itself and the coordinating lid. So I know I'll use this a lot because I'm a total coffee drinker. I love coffee, and I think it's not just a drink. Coffee's kind of a culture. There's like a coffee club. So I have my favorite coffee here, and let me know in the comments what your favorite coffee drink is. If I am going out and buying my coffee, I get a Americano usually, and I'm kind of crazy, so I bring my own creamer. I really like the Silk brand almond caramel creamer. It's just so yummy and delicious. If you haven't tried it, you should. So, and I drink out of a travel mug even when I'm at home because my family says I like my coffee dragon temp. And basically I just like it super hot, and if it's in a regular cup, it cools down too fast for me. So yeah, let me know what your favorite coffee drink is and grab a cup and we'll get started. So here's a closer look at the Perk Up stamp set. You can just see all those fun images. I'm also going to use this Hawthorne scrapbooking stamp, this leaf in the lower left corner here. But look at all the fun images on this stamp and so many title options. I love this stamp and I can't wait to create some fall cards and layouts with that one as well. So for card number 1, this is our easy card. I'm going to start with a piece of white daisy, and I have that leaf image from the Hawthorne scrapbooking stamp, and I'm inking it up in, this is a retired colored creme brulee, but I think canary would give a very similar look in the inks we currently have. So what I have here is a mask that I simply just stamped on a piece of scrap paper and fussy cut it out with my micro tip scissors. Now I'm using some post-it removable labeling tape and just securing it over my stamped image. So now I have my coffee cup, and you can see I laid it down on the foam mat and then put my block on it. That's because these little stamps can move around on you, so if you just lay it down first and then put the block down, it'll hold its shape perfectly. So we've stamped right over our masked image, and now I'm going to put on the little lid in black ink. I also stamped the cup in black, and now I'm going to stamp in the sangria color. I'm going to stamp the little, I call it a Java jacket. I'm not sure if that's what everybody calls it, but the little hand protector there. So again, right over this masked leaf image. So now we can remove our mask, and we have this perfect little stamped image. And there's also a coffee ring, that like kind of a coffee ring stain. And I'm going to use my toffee ink and just stamp that twice, once directly. Oh, sorry, I'm doing my sentiment first, and then I'll do the little coffee stain. So I'm going to use the Thanks a Latte sentiment. There's a lot of different ones from this stamp set, but I like the thank you cards. You can never have too many thank you cards. So here's where I'm going to use the toffee ink and stamp the coffee stain, and I just did once and then again in second generation just to give it a little more interest. Now this card's just almost a little too plain for me, so I'm just going to take my journaling pen and just quickly draw little doodly lines. They don't have to be straight. You don't need to use a ruler. You see how quickly I'm doing this, and go around the border and create a border, and then just little squiggles offset from the top and bottom and the left and right. I just think that adds a lot. And then we'll put a little bow. It's not quite perfect where we stamped the Java jacket over the mask, so I'm just going to hide that with a bow, and no one will ever know. So at first I have a A2 card base here in the white daisy, and I'm going to secure my card panel to this. And then I'm going to use my Tombow Mono liquid adhesive to secure that bow in place. This is a very strong adhesive and it works well for this type of embellishment. And there you have it. A super cute, fast, simple card. You saw how quickly that came together for us. Okay, we're ready for card number 2. We're going to dress this version of our card up a little bit by adding more color. And I'm also going to, rather than stamp directly on the cardstock, I'm going to stamp on those pieces of white daisy and use my die cuts to cut those stamped images out. So I'm stamping my leaf, this time in Gold Rush ink, which is just a little darker, rather than the canary, which is a lovely color. This is just a little bit more deeper, richer tone. So I've stamped that, and then we have my coffee cup, and we want to stamp the lid not directly on it but above it because it has its own thin cut, and so we want to give it room to cut that out. So we just lay the thin cuts right over the top and secure it with some post-it removable tape. And you can fussy cut these images out. You don't have to get the thin cuts. I like to. It's just my personal preference. It makes it quick and easy to do. So, and they come out perfect every time. So this little piece of paper I have here is from the Picture My Life cards, and I've just trimmed it off the edge of one of those cards. I like that green, kind of crackly textured paste in the background. I've lined it up in the corner of my mat to use the grid so I can make sure to get that perfectly square. And now I probably should have tied my thread around before I glued it down, but that's okay. You can wiggle it up behind there into place. And then I'm just tying a bow there on the bottom of the cardstock. And so now we can use this, I'm going to stamp the image, my thank you sentiment, right on the leaf, because with my ribbon down there I didn't leave a lot of room, and with the 2 layers of cardstock there's less room to stamp on the bottom. But I really like the way it looks on the leaf, so that's perfect. For my little Java jacket, I used the stamp and I stamped on the back side of the paper and then fussy cut it out. So you can either use the stamped image, or I wanted to use the little plaid pattern paper there, so we just turned it over for that side. And I'm going to use a little of the dimensional foam tape. You can just trim this down to the exact size you need it. And then we're going to pop this leaf up just a little bit to give it a little extra something. And then we can adhere this to our white daisy card panel. And we're almost done with card number 2. So similar version, but by adding cardstock and color and die cutting these elements out, we dressed it up a little bit. So now we're ready for card number 3, and this is by far my favorite. So I'm going to use the almond again and use my large stitched rectangle die to cut out the center, and then we'll set the frame aside for another project. I'm going to layer that over a piece of that beautiful sangria color. And for my leaf, to make this even fancier, we stamp first in the lighter color, and then you see me rolling the edges in my darker color. And then when we stamp it down, we get this beautiful look of a fall leaf with that red saturating the tips of our leaves like it's changing color. So pretty. So I just quickly die cut that out, and I'm going to use this pattern paper from my coffee cup
This is also a Picture My Life card that I'm using for my coffee cup. If I really like a paper pack, I almost always add the coordinating Picture My Life cards. I use them. I use them, in my scrapbooking for different projects, or, extra pattern paper like this, and they're just very useful. So right now I'm using my brown marker to color the inside of that cup. I just saw my friend Carrie Simmons do this on her video, and she added a little liquid glass. So you'll see what a neat effect that does. And I'm just applying a thin layer. And this can be used as an adhesive or to add a glossy effect to any embellishment. You saw me do this on my sunflower card, but for the coffee cup, it just makes it look like liquid in there. It looks so real. Look at that shine. So I will link to Carrie's video so you can see how she did it and the cards that she made with this stamp set, and in the description below. So be sure to check hers out as well. So I switched my black ink to my pigment ink because it does stay wet longer, and I'm going to emboss this, so I almost forgot my anti-static pouch. So quickly I rub that over my leaf and then stamp my Thanks a Latte sentiment. You can use black embossing powder or clear. Since we use black ink, it'll look the same. I just happen to have clear, so as you can see, it's just going to give a nice shiny glossy finish to that black stamped sentiment there, and it'll kind of go along with our glossy coffee cup there. So we're ready to put this all together, and before I do that, I'm going to add a little center panel from that Hawthorne plaid paper. I love this paper. I wish I could buy several sheets of just this one especially. So you see, I just kind of use my scissors to create the banner end on one end of the centerpiece there. Sorry, can't talk. And now we're going to wrap the gold embellishing thread around the top 2 times just to give it a little extra something, and then we'll tie a bow. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get these tight. So after you tie your bow, you can just kind of spread out the sides there, and it will snug up the image like I'm doing there. And then when you adhere it down, just make sure to put a little tape around and kind of over the ribbon, and it'll hold it in place for you. So now we're just going to assemble this like we did the others. Now you saw on the back side of that plaid paper we have this kind of corrugated. I cannot believe how 3D this paper looks. It is flat. There's no dimension to it at all, but you have to touch it to see that there's no dimension. It just looks so realistic. Now you see I propped up our little coffee lid because we don't want to cover up that neat liquid glass effect inside. So we just kind of pop that open so we can peek inside the cup there. And you saw I used the foam dimensional tape to pop the leaf up. And I'm just going to get a little bit of shimmer in the end of my shimmer brush here and drag down that beautiful rich sangria color on the edge of my leaf. And it just adds a nice sparkle that is difficult to appreciate on camera, but it adds a lot of shine there. So now we can just adhere this whole piece to our white daisy cardstock. And this card is just my favorite because look at all the color and the detail and the finishing and the stitched border, the liquid glass in the coffee cup. It's just all very pretty. So there was our first card and our second card. And you can see how we just dressed it up a little each time. And I lied, we're not quite done. Remember we had that leftover frame from card number 3? I decided this would look really nice on card number 2. So we're just going to use our liquid adhesive to tack that down really quick. And I like the liquid adhesive because you have more time to wiggle it into place and make sure it's lined up perfectly. This is one I love the stitched rectangle dies, the squares, the circles. I have all of them because you get more than one piece. You have the outside frame and then the inside little mat. So it's just 2 for 1. And look how this dresses card number 2 up and just really finishes it off nicely. And so nothing is ever wasted. So there you have it, all 3 cards. And I think anyone would be happy to receive any of these cards. So depending on how much time, you can make the easy or our embellished card version. If you like either one of these stamp sets that I used and you really want to add them to your collection, they are only available through the month of October. So I'll leave a link in the description below that will take you directly to my online store where you can add these products or any other supplies you may want to get. And when you do place an order, you do get a catalog for free. So, and it's not just a catalog, it's an idea book. So that's kind of fun, little bonus. So I just want to thank you so much for watching my Easy to Embellished series. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next week. And be sure to give me a thumbs up. And leave me a note in the comment. Vote on your favorite card and let me know what your favorite coffee drink is. I think that'd be kind of fun. For more information on this project or all these projects, visit my blog at craftyconceptswitherin.com. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.